In the whirlwind of daily life, anger often feels like an old friend, always ready to visit, appearing quickly and leaving a mess in its wake. But what if I told you the power to change this doesn't lie in suppressing anger, but in mastering the art of delay? Imagine that instead of exploding, you could pause and choose a better response. Today, we're going to explore an enduring truth. The best remedy for anger is delay. These words by Roman philosopher Seneca, spoken nearly 2,000 years ago, remain just as relevant now. They offer a path to changing how we navigate anger in our lives. But before we dive into how to apply this principle, we need to address why. Why should we care about controlling our anger? Why not just let it out? Uncontrolled anger is like wildfire. It can destroy relationships, harm our health, and leave us with regrets that linger for years. Anger itself isn't the enemy. It's a natural emotion, often signaling that something important to us is being threatened. The real challenge lies in how we respond to it. This is where Stoic philosophy comes in. The Stoics, those ancient Greek and Roman thinkers, taught that while we can't always control what happens to us, we do have full control over how we react. And in the gap between stimulus and response, we find our greatest power. But how do we create this pause, this delay? What happens in that precious moment of reflection? Let's explore this through the stories of three individuals: Sarah, Michael, and Alex. Each faces their own unique challenges, all of which test their patience and stir their anger. Sarah is a high-level executive, juggling a demanding schedule. Her days are packed with back-to-back meetings, urgent emails, and critical decisions. During one meeting, Sarah feels her frustration building when a colleague presents a poorly prepared report. In this moment, anger starts to rise. The old Sarah might have snapped, criticizing her colleague in front of the entire team. But Sarah has been practicing the art of delay. As she feels the heat of anger, she remembers the words of Marcus Aurelius: "You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In that moment of delay, Sarah asks herself three key questions. What is within my control? How would my best self respond? Will this matter in a month? By creating this pause, Sarah gives herself space to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. She chooses to address the issue constructively, turning a potential conflict into an opportunity for improvement. Next, we have Michael, a high school teacher who faces a different set of challenges. Working with teenagers every day requires patience, understanding, and sometimes a thick skin. One day, while teaching, Michael is confronted by a disruptive and disrespectful student. He feels the anger starting to build as the student's behavior threatens to derail the class. But Michael, too, has learned the power of delay. In that moment, he recalls the words of Epictetus: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In the brief pause, Michael reflects on three important points. This student's behavior is not a personal attack. There may be underlying issues causing this behavior. How can I turn this into a teaching moment? By delaying his response, Michael transforms his anger into empathy, turning a potential confrontation into a meaningful interaction. Finally, we have Alex, a stay-at-home parent. While not working in a traditional office, Alex faces countless daily situations that can spark anger and frustration. In one instance, Alex is at the supermarket with a young child who throws a tantrum. As the child acts out, Alex feels a familiar wave of anger and embarrassment. But Alex, too, has learned the art of delay. In that moment, Alex remembers Seneca's wisdom: "He who is not angry at evil lacks a virtue, but he who remains calm in anger is wise." In that brief moment, Alex considers three things. My child isn't trying to make my life difficult. They are struggling. What basic need is driving this behavior? This moment will pass. By delaying their response, Alex turns anger into understanding, responding to their child's needs rather than reacting to their behavior. Sarah, Michael, and Alex each show us that mastering the art of delay isn't about suppressing anger, but about creating space for wisdom to emerge. In that space, we can choose how to respond, aligning our actions with our values rather than our immediate emotions. This isn't just about avoiding outbursts, it's about taking control of our reactions, empowering ourselves to navigate life's frustrations with grace, patience, and understanding. When we delay, we open a door to our best selves. How do we train ourselves to delay anger, and what exactly happens in the brain during those crucial moments of pause? Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the science of anger, Stoic philosophy, and practical techniques you can apply daily to master this powerful emotion. When we explore the art of delaying anger, understanding the brain's mechanics is essential. When anger arises, the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, triggers the release of stress hormones, preparing the body for an immediate fight or flight response. While this rapid reaction was useful for survival in our ancestors' environment, it often does more harm than good in today's world. This is where the strength of delay comes into play. By intentionally pausing, even for a few seconds, we engage the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for rational thought and decision-making. This simple act allows us to shift from emotional reactivity to a more thoughtful response. But how do we build the habit of delaying? Like any skill, it requires practice and patience. Let's explore several practical techniques you can incorporate into your everyday life. The first technique is the 5-5-5 rule. When you feel anger rising, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 minutes? 5 months? 5 years? This simple mental exercise helps you put the issue into perspective, often revealing that our anger is out of proportion to the actual problem. The second technique is box breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, and hold again for 4 counts. Repeat this cycle 4 times. This technique, used by Navy SEALs, calms the nervous system and creates a valuable moment of delay. The third is the Stoic pause. When faced with an aggravating situation, take a mental step back and observe it as if you were a neutral outsider. Ask yourself, what would a wise person do in this situation? This creates emotional distance and allows for a more reasoned response. The fourth technique is reframing. During the pause, try to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing the situation as a threat or personal attack, can you view it as a challenge or an opportunity for growth? Lastly, the is it true technique challenges the validity of your angry thoughts. When anger-filled assumptions arise, ask yourself, is this true? Often, our anger is based on misunderstandings or unfounded assumptions. This question prompts us to reassess and recalibrate. Remember, the goal isn't to never feel angry. Anger is a natural, sometimes useful emotion. The purpose is to create space between stimulus and response, where we can choose how to act. Let's return to our 3 friends, Sarah, Michael, and Alex, and see how they apply these techniques daily. Sarah, a business executive, has integrated the 555 rule into her mental toolkit. In a tense negotiation recently, she felt anger surge when her counterpart made an insulting offer. Before reacting, she quickly asked herself the 3 555 questions. Although the offer frustrated her in the moment, she realized it wouldn't matter in 5 months or 5 years. This perspective helped her stay calm and continue the negotiation, ultimately leading to a mutually beneficial agreement. Michael, a high school teacher, has mastered the box breathing technique. One day, a student repeatedly disrupted his class, pushing his patience to its limit. Feeling the anger rise, Michael stepped outside for a moment and performed 4 rounds of box breathing in just over a minute. This focused breathing allowed him to return to the class composed and clear-headed, addressing the student's behavior firmly, but with compassion, turning a disruptive situation into a valuable lesson. Alex, a stay-at-home parent, has embraced the Stoic pause. On a particularly tough day, when everything seemed to go wrong, his child spilled juice on the freshly cleaned floor. In the past, this might have been the final straw, but Alex paused, mentally stepped back, and asked himself, what would a wise father do in this moment? This brief reflection helped him see the spill not as a personal affront, but as part of the normal process of childhood learning. Instead of yelling, Alex turned the cleanup into a game, teaching responsibility while maintaining a positive atmosphere. These real-life examples show that the art of delaying anger is not just a philosophical concept, but a practical tool we can use every day. But what happens when the anger is too strong, too justified to delay? This is when we need to dig deeper into the root causes of our anger. Understanding that anger often stems from unmet needs, hurt, or fear can help us approach even justified anger with more clarity. When we delay, we create space not just for rational thought, but for emotional healing. The key is not to suppress the anger, but to give ourselves enough time to understand it fully. And in doing so, we gain control not over the emotion itself, but over our response, turning what could be destructive energy into something constructive. Anger often stems from more than just the immediate trigger. It can be rooted in unmet needs, insecurities, or deep-seated fears. In moments of delay, ask yourself, what's really bothering me? Am I feeling disrespected, insecure, or powerless? Understanding the root cause of your anger helps address the real issue rather than simply reacting to surface-level frustrations. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." This profound insight reminds us that anger isn't necessarily caused by the situation itself, but by how we perceive it. By delaying our initial reaction, we give ourselves a chance to reassess that perception and choose a more constructive way of viewing things. Let's practice this together. Think of a recent situation that made you angry. Got it? Now, let's reverse engineer the delay. Breathe deeply and start creating that psychological distance from the event. First, ask yourself, what about this situation triggered my anger? Then, consider if there's another way to view the problem without confronting it with anger. This change in perspective often helps soften negative feelings. Third, reflect on which of your needs were unmet at the moment. Lastly, if you could go back to that time, how would you react differently? This exercise isn't about judging your initial reaction, but rather training your mind to build the necessary pause for future scenarios, enabling you to choose a more suitable response. Now, let's dispel a common misconception. Delaying anger doesn't mean becoming passive or weak. In fact, it's the opposite. Mastering the art of delay allows us to resolve problems more effectively and express ourselves more powerfully. When we react with calmness and clarity rather than anger, our words carry more weight and our actions have greater impact. Reflect on Marcus Aurelius's words. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. This strength lets us stand firm in our principles without being swayed by bursts of anger. It allows us to say no decisively, yet respectfully, to set boundaries without burning bridges, and to resolve conflict in ways that are constructive rather than destructive. Let's look at how Sarah, Michael, and Alex apply this strength in their lives. Sarah recently dealt with a team member who consistently missed deadlines. In the past, her frustration might have led to harsh criticism, damaging their working relationship. But this time, Sarah used the pause to gather her thoughts. She then had a calm, focused conversation with the team member, clearly explaining how the delays affected the team and worked together to find a solution. Her calm strength fostered a constructive dialogue, improving performance, rather than creating defensiveness and resentment. Michael, a high school teacher, faced a confrontational parent angry about their child's grades. Instead of becoming defensive or matching the parent's anger, Michael used the "is it true" technique to reassess his assumptions about the parent's intentions. He realized the parent's anger likely stemmed from concern for their child's future. With this perspective, Michael had a productive conversation, explaining the grading process and discussing strategies to help the student improve. His calm and empathetic approach transformed what could have been a heated exchange into a collaborative effort to support the student. Alex, dealing with a neighbor whose dog constantly barked and disturbed his child's sleep, could have angrily confronted them. Instead, Alex used the reframing technique, viewing the situation as an opportunity to improve neighborly relations. After calming himself, he approached the neighbor politely, explained the situation, and suggested working together to find a solution. This led to a friendly conversation where they discovered the dog was anxious when left alone. Together, They brainstormed ideas to keep the neighborhood peaceful. In each of these scenarios, delaying the initial surge of anger allowed for more effective problem solving. This is the true power of delay. Not only does it help us avoid the negative consequences of anger, but it also opens up possibilities for positive outcomes that anger might have blocked. Yet there are times when anger is so intense and rises so quickly that we react before we have a chance to pause. This is when mindfulness becomes essential. By practicing mindfulness regularly in daily life, we can increase our emotional awareness and recognize the early signs of anger before it overwhelms us. Mindfulness, when integrated into our daily routine, sharpens our ability to notice the physical and emotional cues that signal the onset of anger. Over time, this practice helps us catch those cues earlier and earlier, creating a natural buffer between the trigger and our response. Instead of being swept up by the emotion, we can observe it with detachment and decide how to act with intention. The more we practice this awareness, the easier it becomes to stay in control, even in the heat of the moment. Ultimately, mastering anger isn't about never feeling it. Anger is a natural emotion with its place in our lives. But by learning to delay, reassess, and respond with clarity, we harness the power of choice. We transform anger from a force of destruction into a tool for growth and resolution. The moments we create through delay offer the opportunity for our wisest selves to step forward and shape the outcome, turning conflict into collaboration and frustration into understanding. Try a simple mindfulness exercise several times throughout your day. Take a moment to check in with yourself. What emotions are you feeling? Where in your body do you feel them? Are your shoulders tense? Is your jaw clenched? By consistently tuning into your emotional state, you become better at recognizing the early signs of anger, giving yourself more opportunities to apply the art of delay. Remember, mastering this art is a journey, not a destination. There will be times when you succeed in pausing before reacting, and other times when anger gets the better of you. What matters is approaching this practice with compassion for yourself. As Epictetus said, we should not be angry with ourselves for failing, but instead continue educating ourselves without bitterness. Every time you succeed in delaying an angry reaction, celebrate that victory, no matter how small. When you react in anger, use it as a learning opportunity. Reflect on what triggered the anger, how it felt in your body, and what you might do differently next time. As we conclude this exploration, let's recap the key elements of mastering the delay of anger. First, anger is not an enemy. It is a natural emotion that often signals important issues. Second, the power lies in the pause between stimulus and response. This pause allows us to shift from our emotional brain to our rational brain. Techniques like the 5-5-5 rule, box breathing, and the stoic pause help us create this essential delay. Delaying anger isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about choosing a wise response. Regular mindfulness practice strengthens our ability to recognize anger early and creates more opportunities to pause before reacting. Mastering the art of delay is a continuous process, one that requires patience and self-compassion. See every moment of anger as an opportunity to practice this art. Start with small steps. Even just delaying a reaction by a few seconds can make a significant difference. Over time, these small pauses will stretch longer, giving you more time to choose a thoughtful response. Remember Seneca's words, "The best remedy for anger is delay." In this simple statement lies a profound truth that each of us has the power to change our relationship with anger. By mastering the art of delay, we not only avoid the destructive consequences of uncontrolled anger, but also open the door to more constructive, compassionate, and effective ways of dealing with the world. Next time you feel anger rising, take a deep breath and create that small space between stimulus and response. In that space, you will find the power to choose rather than automatically react, to understand instead of judge, to transform rather than destroy. This is the true power of delay, and it's a power that lies within each of us. As you leave this video, take with you the techniques, strategies, and a new perspective on anger. See anger not as an enemy to be fought, but as a messenger to be listened to after a moment of thoughtful pause. In doing so, you may find that anger no longer fuels regret or destruction in your life, but instead becomes a catalyst for growth, understanding, and positive change. The journey to mastering anger through delay is a lifelong one, but it's a journey that brings greater peace, stronger relationships, and a deeper understanding of yourself and others. Take that first step, create that first pause, and discover the power and wisdom that already lie within you. As we move into the final chapter of our exploration of the art of delaying anger, take a moment to reflect on what we've covered. We've explored the neuroscience behind anger, practical techniques for creating a pause, and seen how this approach can transform our daily interactions. Now, let's delve deeper into how we can integrate this practice into our daily lives. One of the most powerful ways to reinforce the habit of delay is through daily reflection. The Stoics practiced something called the evening review. At the end of each day, they would reflect on their actions, particularly how they handled challenging situations. We can apply this exercise to focus on managing anger. Each night, ask yourself these questions. When did I feel anger today? Did I create a pause before reacting? If so, what was the result? If not, how could things have gone differently if I had paused? What can I learn from this to apply tomorrow? This simple practice reinforces the importance of delay and trains your mind to be more aware of situations that trigger anger. Over time, this awareness grows, making it easier to implement the techniques you've learned and empowering you to handle your emotions with greater clarity and control. Over time, you'll develop the ability to create that crucial pause even in the heat of anger. But what happens when the anger feels justified, when we face real injustices? This is where the Stoic concept of righteous anger comes into play. The Stoics believed that there could be room for anger when it is controlled, proportional, and aimed at addressing wrongdoing. However, even in these cases, delay is essential. Seneca once wrote, "Anger, even when justified, should never be expressed privately. Wait for witnesses before you act." This pause serves several purposes. It allows us to ensure the anger is truly justified, form a more effective response, and express our concerns in a way that is more likely to lead to positive change. Think of great leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela, who transformed their anger at systemic injustice into powerful tools for social justice. Their anger wasn't dismissed. Rather, it was channeled through patience and wisdom into non-violent actions that led to profound change. They serve as examples of how delay can transform anger from a destructive force into a catalyst for progress. When we practice the art of delay, our relationship with anger starts to change. Rather than seeing it as an overwhelming force, we begin to view anger as valuable information, a signal that something in our environment needs our attention. This shift in perspective aligns with the Stoic principle of assent, the idea that we can reassess our initial impressions and decide whether to accept them as true. When we feel the first signs of anger, we can pause and ask, is this anger serving me? Is it proportional to the situation? Is there a more constructive way to respond? By addressing what's truly bothering us, we develop what the Stoics called sophrosyne, a state of mental balance characterized by moderation, self-control, and harmony. This doesn't mean we never feel anger. It means we gain the wisdom to recognize when anger is appropriate and the self-control to express it in a constructive manner. As we near the end of this journey, let's revisit our three friends, Sarah, Michael, and Alex. Sarah has realized that practicing delay not only improves her professional life, but also enriches her personal relationships. By pausing before reacting to the occasional thoughtless comment from her partner, she's been able to have more constructive conversations about her needs and feelings, strengthening their relationship with greater understanding. Michael, the high school teacher, has begun teaching his students the art of delay, introducing mindfulness exercises into his classroom. He's noticed a marked improvement in their behavior and has even received thanks from parents who've seen how these techniques are helping at home. Alex, a stay-at-home parent, has discovered that mastering the art of delay has increased his overall satisfaction with life. Instead of reacting angrily to everyday annoyances, he responds thoughtfully, which brings more joy to parenting and gives him more energy for personal hobbies. These stories remind us that the art of delaying anger is not just about avoiding negative consequences. It's about creating space for more positive and fulfilling experiences in every aspect of life. As we conclude this journey, remember that mastering the art of delay doesn't mean achieving perfection. There will still be times when anger takes over, when we react before pausing. The key is to approach this practice with patience and self-compassion. Every moment of anger is an opportunity to practice, to learn, and to grow. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." By committing to respond with wisdom rather than anger, we put ourselves on a path of continuous growth and self-improvement. So as you move forward from here, I invite you to make a commitment to yourself. Commit to creating that small space between stimulus and response, that crucial moment of delay. Start with small steps. Even a pause of just a few seconds can make a significant difference. Over time, as you practice and refine your ability to pause, those small delays will lengthen, giving you more room to choose a wise response. Remember, the power to change your relationship with anger lies within you, in that space between stimulus and response. In that moment of delay, you'll find the freedom to choose your reaction instead of being a slave to impulse, to understand rather than judge, and to grow rather than destroy. As you move through your day, carry with you the wisdom of the Stoics and the insights we've explored together. You might find a new strength in how you face anger, seeing the power of delay not just as a technique, but as a way of life. This practice can bring you greater peace, stronger relationships, and a deeper understanding of yourself and those around you. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the art of delaying anger. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Now, as you move forward, use the power of delay with wisdom and grace. Thank you for watching. If you found this content helpful, please hit like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. I'll see you in the next video.